So Unreal Engine 5 just released in early access. I am real quick actually rushing this video just because I was really excited for this when I found out that this was in early access. Um, so I am actually this is gonna be like a full like first impressions, a first look at Unreal Engine 5. Um, because this just released, I believe at the time of recording this, it released maybe an hour or two ago. So I wanted to have a look at Unreal Engine 5, and more specifically, I wanted to have a look and see if they've made any substantial improvements in terms of VR. So I haven't had too much of a look at this. The most I've had a look at so far is looking at some of the documentation, and I have to say this UI looks really clean. I really like this UI for Unreal Engine 5, but we'll look at that a little bit more once we jump in. Now, real quick, before we jump in, if you guys want to see tutorials on VR development in Unreal Engine 5, whether it be in early access or once they finally release a full stable build, let me know in the comments. I'm actually really excited for this, so I'm probably going to end up doing tutorials on this anyways, but I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are. Also before we go and jump in case you don't know how to install Unreal Engine 5, I'm in the Epic Games Launcher. They've updated and added a new Unreal Engine 5 tab. All you have to do is download early access and that's it. So I'm actually going to go and launch this. This is the first time I'm actually launching it or anything like that. Like I said, I haven't done anything with Unreal Engine 5. I haven't opened it or anything like that. I do like this little loading screen here. This looks really nice. So let's go ahead and get this open real quick. All right. So I'll probably have to end up blurring some of these out because I don't think I'm allowed to be showing some of these projects. But you can actually see that these are all some of the Unreal Engine 4.26 projects I have, and one 4.25 as well. Battle Mage, I actually started in 4.25, but you can actually open all these. I was actually reading on this that you can actually migrate projects from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. Now, I'm not sure that I will. I might try that with Battle Mage just to kind of see how well it functions later on. But the only thing that I'd be concerned about is I'm using the VR expansion plugin. I'm curious as to whether or not that'll even work in Unreal Engine 5. From what I've seen, they've kept a lot of the same features from Unreal Engine 4, so I'm not sure how much will actually transition over. So let's actually go and have a look here. You can see that we have, I think these are all the same four tabs that we had before: games, film, video, architecture, and automotive. I think these are all the same. This is different though. I think these are fewer templates than what we usually would have gotten. And I'm seeing that there's actually, it looks like there's quite a bit more. So I'm actually quite excited. I'm seeing like some guns. I think I see like a laser sight or something right there too, which is really interesting. I'm hoping that they redesigned actually I'm actually really hoping that they redesigned the player especially. Let's go and open up a project here. I'm going to call this test VR project. I'm really hoping, so one of my big hopes is that they redesigned the VR, what they call it, the BP motion controller, because quite frankly, I don't like the way that they designed it where the hands were separate from the body. I do kind of understand why they did that. However, it's not as easy to work as like how the VR expansion plugin does it, where everything is all encompassed in one single character. Not to mention the pawn is not, quite frankly, the best thing to be using, especially when it comes to movement systems or anything like that. So you can actually see right now it's saying it's compiling shaders. So I'll go and let this run because this is probably going to take a second. And I'll go ahead and jump right back once I have this project open. All right, so Unreal Engine 5 now open. Project files out of date. All right. Overall, the project, I don't think it took an unreasonable amount of time to open up. It probably took a good 20 or so minutes. But looking at this overall, this is looking really well. It's still compiling the shaders, but it is looking really good so far. So let's go and have a look around at this, I guess. So control space is actually for content drawer. So something that I'd actually seen when I was looking around was that a lot of the tools and stuff are now meant to be collapsible, which I think is really interesting, in order to kind of have some just kind of keyboard shortcuts for all this, which I think is really nice. Like I said, I think that this new UI for Unreal Engine 5 actually looks really nice too. I really like this looks a lot cleaner overall in my opinion. But let's go and have a look here and see. You can actually see we have platforms, desktop. This looks like pretty much the equivalent of doing a build. If I'm looking at this correctly, that's what it looks like. This looks like very similar to packaging and then, or building and then throwing it onto some kind of device, which is definitely really interesting. I'm seeing too that there's an update for this, so I'll definitely have to look into this a little bit more. I don't currently have the SDK and all that installed. That's definitely very interesting. We also have the VR preview. I actually want to start. Actually, before we get started with that, I want to have a look at the new player. So I'm seeing that there's actually, this looks like a spectator cam is what it looks like, a VR spectator. So I'm curious, let me see, is there another there's an auto receive input. I don't see an auto possess though, which is interesting. I wonder if auto receive input maybe takes over what the auto possession does. I'll have to look into that, I think, here. But I'm also curious. So let's go and have a look at this. So this looks like it's kind of taking the place of our window that would usually go on the side to bring in lights and shapes and all these different kinds of elements, which is very interesting. VR editor avatar actor. So this is interesting. They have a lot more VR based stuff, it looks like, in here, because I don't remember there being all this kind of stuff, all this kind of VR titled stuff. So this is kind of interesting. Let me actually see. I want to pull one of these in actually. Let me see here. VR. Let's bring in this avatar actor. Let's see this. What does this look like? So I don't actually see anything to it, which is kind of interesting. I don't see the auto possess. I only see the auto receive right here. But I'm also noticing too, there are a lot fewer options, it looks like, here in the details panel, because I believe I remember there being a lot more. So let's also look to, I want to bring in, there's another one, base actor. Now this is kind of interesting. So the VR base actor doesn't have a root component, which is interesting. I'm curious about that, because usually you would have right under here, we would have a second component here that we'd have at least one component to go in as our root component, which is interesting because I don't see that here. So actually I want to do something. Let me go ahead and jump into one. I have my headset hooked up. I want to see how this will just go and drop me in real quick. It did. Let me see here. Let me see if I have any hands or anything. Controllers. These are actually the wrong controllers. This actually kind of surprises me. Hold on. Can I teleport or anything? How did I do that? I have the feeling I'm not seeing everything because the shaders aren't compiled or something. Let me see here if I can grab anything. I'm curious. This does look a little bit glitchy here. Let me see. Well, let me grab this. It will. So this isn't running very smoothly in the headset, but this is working, which is interesting. I can't hit the blocks and move them around now. I'm also curious about this choice here. That the left controller is actually what's rotating me, which isn't normal for VR. Typically, it's the right that does it. It seems like the right is meant for movement. The left. Oh, now that's showing up. So I wonder if things aren't showing up because I don't have everything. I haven't finished loading everything up yet. Oh, you can also see those are now showing up too. Yeah, you can see slowly more things are getting added in. So I might have another look at this at the end of the video once everything is loaded in properly. Because I'm seeing like more and more stuff is like coming in. More and more stuff's becoming visible. But I think it's really interesting they have the right controller for movement, because that's not something you usually see. Typically it's the left is for movement, right is for rotation. And that's not the way that they did that here. Going left and right on my right thumbstick doesn't do anything. It's only on the left. I'm also seeing something in the top left of my screen, but I can't tell what that is. Oh, suddenly shaders are compiling. Actually, interestingly enough, I see two things. It's showing up there on the screen too, which is interesting. Okay, let me actually see this too. If I do this, yeah, so I can grab two. So I want to pull up then. I'm gonna have to pull up and see what kind of player this is. So let me go ahead, drop those. So everything seems to work fine. Actually, I want to see it too. Can I do anything with this? Oh, I can't. That's interesting. Okay, so I want to pull up and I want to see what kind of character this is real quick. My assumption is that if I just tab out back into Unreal Engine 5, it'll show me, and it does, which is really nice. So it's called VR Pawn. So they stuck with the pawn, which I think is really interesting. And that they didn't go with an actor. So now that I have this open, because this is really what I want to look at too, is how this player is structured. They did actually tie the motion controllers into the pawn this time, which is nice. I'm glad that they did that, not attaching them as separate. I believe they were attached as separate actors, if I recall. Which was not, it worked, but it wasn't pleasant. But I think that's really, I like though that they went back to this. So that way it's separated like this. There's also some widget interaction. And this is something else I'm kind of curious about too. The widget interaction uses a line. I'm curious if they modified this to use, rather than a line, if maybe they had it so we can actually physically press on things. Because I know right now the best way of doing it is to have like a small line at like the very tip of your finger when you do this, and just have that detect, which works if you can do it right. It's just not really great. And I'm seeing here they have an interaction distance, so it looks like this is working the same way. I'm also curious. They did assign both different pointer indexes. So they both run off of different indexes. And then we also have the camera here, which, I mean, seems to function like a regular camera. I'm not really seeing any significant changes. Actually, something I am curious about though is that the camera is visible in the scene. I wonder if that's a deliberate choice. Let me see here. Actor hidden. Oh, so yeah, so they had actor hidden and game disabled, which is interesting. I'm also curious too. There's got to be a way to bring up the world settings, is what I'm curious about. Here they are. So they moved the settings panel up here to the top right. That's actually not a bad spot, I think. Let's go and bring this up though. So the game mode is set to none, so I'm assuming that's going to be in the project settings then. It is. Cool. So a lot of this definitely has remained the same, which is really nice. A lot of this looks like it'll probably carry it over from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5 really smoothly, just looking at this right now. It looks, for the most part so far, it seems like it's mostly just a reskin of Unreal Engine 4 with a couple of much needed improvements, which is really nice. What I want to look at though, I wanted to look real quick. Is it under maps and modes? No. Yes, it is. So, so they actually made a specific VR game mode, which is really nice. I like, I have to get used to this, control space. So, there it is. So here we go, here we go. So we have some more control here. So I like that they added in a lot more VR functionality. That was something that was definitely seriously lacking in Unreal Engine 4. And having it now is definitely going to be a much needed improvement. So let's actually see here. So this is our VR template map. I'm also curious why it took dark in there. I feel like it's not supposed to be in the lighting still building. Because I'm seeing there's some point lights, it looks like. Yeah, these are still point lights. Cool. What's this collision though? There's a collision here. Text render. There's a nav modifier. Let me actually see if I still press P. Oh, okay. So I don't know how clearly this actually shows up in the video, but they still kept the hotkey. So if you press P, you can pull up navigation. The navigation here. So that's interesting. So it does still seem to function. I mean, as you'd expect. I'm betting that's how the teleportation was working as well, as it's using this, as it's using the nav mesh, because I think I remember that's how it functioned in Unreal Engine 4 as well. Actually, I'm curious too, how are they doing the movement? Because that's definitely something. Oh no, that's right, because I was expecting locomotion movement, but they're using teleportation, so never mind. It's probably functioning very similarly, if not the exact same. So they are using interfaces, it looks like. So they've implemented some interfaces too, which is nice. Because I don't recall there being interfaces for triggers and things like that. Let me see here. So I'm curious. So this is probably tied to these guns here. Oh, they label them pistols. Okay, so they label them pistols. So that's very interesting. But I'm betting event trigger pressed VR interaction BPI. So yeah, so they've adapted this because I don't recall these running off of interfaces before. So this is really nice. This will actually simplify things a lot, I think. This will definitely be really interesting indeed. Let me see, does the grab function off of an interface? It doesn't. Target is grab component. Is that grab component? No, it's an actor. So hold on, where's it getting grab component from? Is that another interface? Let me pull up the class settings here. No, it's only got the one interface. That's interesting. That is interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm really curious as to how this try release is working. There's also try grab. Get grab component near. So I'm curious as to how they're pulling that because I'm saying this is based off of an actor. Oh, I didn't mean to do. I didn't mean to do that. Because I see that's running off of an actor, and there's no grab interfaces in here. I didn't mean to pull up that. There we go. Yeah, but this is definitely looking really similar for the most part. It's definitely looking really cool. So I want to see real quick, can I possess this VR spectator? So I'm going to try this auto receive input and see if that lets me possess it. Because there's no, nope, it's not possessing. Because that just brought up our pawn again. Spectator enabled? Is that what I want? I have a black screen. Oh, that's interesting. So it's showing up in the headset, not very well, but it is showing up in the headset. It's just not showing up. Let me try cycling through some of this. Nope. Interesting. So it's showing up in the headset. It's not showing up on the monitor, which is very interesting. So I will say Unreal Engine 5 is definitely a little bit buggy. I'm definitely noticing a few bugs here and there. Oh, they moved source control down here. I'm actually curious, what does source control look like? It looks like we have all the same options. Subversion, Plastic SCM, Perforce, and Git, which is still being labeled as in beta version, which makes sense because I believe it's still in beta version in Unreal Engine 4 as well. So this is definitely looking really nice. I really like overall this layout. Let me see here. Let's do a new empty blueprint class. So we have all the same. I think these are all the same. We got our actor, pawn, character, player, controller, game mode, base, actor component, scene component, which makes sense. These are the ones that you're probably going to use the most often. And then a lot of this looks the same. Actually, I'm curious. If I scroll down to V, is there any VR stuff? No. What if I look up VR? We have VR editor interactor. Okay, VR scouting interactor. So those are interesting. VR spectator, editor teleporter, VR editor floating UI. Represents an interactive floating UI panel in the VR editor. Interesting. And then we're back to our VR game mode and all this kind of stuff. So this is very interesting. Overall, I'm really liking this. I might give this a shot and see, like with the Battlemage project, to see how well everything transfers over. It actually reminds me, if I pull plugins, are there any? Let me see here. Looks like the same plugin menu. There's nothing much. There's not a whole lot that's changed. Still got the Steam VR. I'm assuming we still have Oculus. Actually, though, I'm curious. 'Cause this is something I have been having an issue with recently with the Battlemage project. And it came to the multiplayer testing. So we still have listen server, which is pretty standard. Standalone listen server and client. It doesn't look like a whole lot's really changed here either. Enable network emulation, server, client. Here we go, number of clients too. So I'm actually gonna give this a shot. Let's see how well this runs with 2 clients here. Okay. So let me see. So we have one that's showing a player in the ground. We have one that's showing a black screen. And it looks like I'm maybe possessing the one in the black screen. I am fascinated though. I am seeing, so I can't really show this, which is kind of unfortunate, but I'm seeing right below me, there's 2 more controllers, which I'm assuming would otherwise be a second player, and I think that's that second player I'm seeing, because the second player is still showing up in the ground. So that's pretty interesting. That is very interesting. I can't swap between them, which is unfortunate. All right, so overall, I'm actually kind of impressed with Unreal Engine 5. It functioned, and it seemed to function pretty well overall. It was still compiling shaders for quite a while, so I decided to leave it, especially since Unreal Engine 5 just kept on crashing. So I decided to just leave it for now. I tried importing the Battlemage project that I've been working on for quite a while. And I kept getting an error. From what I could tell, it seemed to be an error linked to using the VR expansion plugin and the advanced sessions plugin as well. So unfortunately, it seems like those may not work in Unreal Engine 5, which I kind of expected to be the case. So if you'd like to see tutorials around Unreal Engine 5, I'm definitely going to keep on playing with this, even if it is in preview and does give me occasional issues. I think it's going to be really great for VR overall, especially since it seems like they've overhauled a lot of the necessary stuff that's been missing from Unreal Engine 4 for a long time. It's, now we have VR players and pawns, and if I recall, there was an actor in there as well. So I think it'll be really cool to develop VR in Unreal Engine 5, and I think it will also become a lot simpler now that we have a lot of the tools that definitely were missing in Unreal Engine 4. So if you guys would like to see tutorials around Unreal Engine 5, go ahead and leave comments and all that kind of fun stuff down below. And with that, I will see you guys in the next reality.